my name's Nicole, and I'm going to show you how to make your very own apron brought to you by the Fabric Exchange.
To make this apron, you are going to need some kind of newspaper or scrap paper to make the pattern, 3 pieces of fabric. You can make them all the same or however many different colors you want. The main piece for the apron is going to be 46 inches by 25 inches. The ruffles or the lace for the pockets and things plus the waist ties are going to be 18 inches by 44 inches. And the pockets and the neck straps are going to be 29 inches by 15 inches. And of course you'll also need your sewing basics, your sewing machine, thread, scissors, pins, something to measure everything with, etc.
Okay, so now to make our main apron pattern piece, you're going to need to take your scrap paper or newspaper and tape the pieces together to create one big piece. I like to try and add a little bit more tape and try and stick it to my workspace just so nothing moves when I'm putting it together. For this pattern, the longest side is going to be about 24 inches. That top part that would go over your chest should be about 5 to 5.5 inches. And from side to side in the middle would be 11 inches. And that shortest side where it curves down would be about 9 inches. Oh, and don't forget, if you're cutting any type of paper, make sure you're using regular paper scissors and not your main fabric cutting shears. So all you're going to do next is pin and cut your pattern piece like you would any other pattern. If you want to do it freehand without pinning it, go right ahead. I personally, whenever I do do-it-yourself projects like this, try to not use a pattern piece just so I can get a feel for everything. If you're new to this, keep in mind that the pattern piece was made for half of the apron. So make sure that you're putting down your pattern piece with the wrong sides together and with that main 24-inch straight line up against the fold on the fabric. So when you cut it, it'll make one big piece, and make sure to not cut that folded edge. So then all you're going to do next is cut out the rest of the pieces for your apron. I went ahead and used more of that black and white instead of using the white for the lace for the ties for everything. And also remember, depending on how you've designed your project, you're going to need a few extra things, as well as to keep in mind that the waist ties for your apron, you're going to need to cut out 2 of those pieces. So next you're going to be making the pocket. So all you're going to do is fold the fabric you have for your pocket in half with the right sides together with the fabric turned inside out. After that, you're going to sew along the edges so you make yourself a pocket. You can either double layer it and just sew it like that, or just leave the top open as shown and make that its own pocket instead. And I know I keep saying this, but feel free to be creative. With the way I originally had this pattern set out, I was going to make one big pocket in the middle, but I'm actually turning it into 2 separate pockets. So make sure you have enough fabric and everything like that for any other alterations you're going to do to it. Next, you're going to need to make the ruffles that will embellish the pockets on this apron. What you're going to need to do first is fold the fabric in half with the shorter ends closest together. And for the ruffles, you're going to need to bend the fabric back and forth in like a spring or wave type motion and pin each ruffle together so it holds in place. For attaching the ruffles, you can put it on the pocket anywhere you want. I chose to put it on the top and do that double layering thing like I mentioned before, instead of sticking it inside the pattern sticking out. If you have the ruffles facing up towards the top of the pocket like I did, you're going to need to bend them over the edge and sew them with the tips together like that so they can come back up without the seam showing. Once you have your ruffles on, you're going to attach the pocket by putting it in whichever place you want and sewing around the edges. Make sure you're only sewing around the sides and the bottom of the pocket. If you sew over that gap on the top, you're not going to have a pocket. And then, of course, once you make the ruffle for the bottom or wherever else you decide to put ruffles, it would be the same process for sewing the ruffles and then attaching it to wherever you need it to go. Next, you're going to need to sew and attach the neck strap and the waist ties. The way I did it is I have 2 waist ties and 1 neck strap that goes all the way around, but you could make it 2 pieces for the neck strap as well and just tie it together if that's what's more comfortable for you. To sew it, you're going to need to flip the fabric inside out and fold it in half with the right sides together. And then sew along that main side as well as sew one side closed and one side open. Reason being is you're going to need, when you're done sewing it, to flip it right side out again, and the easiest way to do it is with the one side closed and the one side open, kind of like flipping over a sock. And of course, once you're done sewing all of your pieces, it would be a good idea to iron it just so everything's even and facing the way it needs to be. Once you have the straps and the ties all sewn up evenly and everything, you're going to attach the straps to the top of the front of the apron. And with the waist ties, you're going to attach them to the front of the side and make sure you have one on each side. Once attached, you fold everything together onto the apron and then pin everything in place and sew it up.
And here is our finished product. With this apron, the dimensions will fit most adult women, but since I'm relatively petite, it's a little loose on me. But what I like to do instead of wearing it so far down is I like to hike it up a little like this. And that even goes with the aprons I've bought. And just tie it. There we go. So you've got your ruffles and your pockets and everything, and be sure whatever you want to do with it, just mix and match and do it however you like with whatever fabric. Like I said, I added the pockets on the side instead of in the middle, and they're completely fully functional and they're great. So once again, I'm Nicole for the Fabric Exchange, and this was our tutorial on our little Valentine's Day apron. Bye!